Alrighty, welcome back to another exciting lecture on the Upanishads. In today's video, I'm going to talk about Isha, which is one of the 10 principal Upanishads that I mentioned. Um, and I chose this video first, to do this one first, because Isha is, quite frankly, the shortest of the Upanishads. And so what I've done is I've actually put the entire Isha on my slides, and it's only about 1.5 pages. So this does show that it's not that every Upanishad is extremely long. Most of them can range from a couple pages to some that do get quite extensive. But this is a great one to start off with, in my personal opinion. And what I'm going to do is we're just going to read it, and uh, after reading it, we'll see that it really is a philosophical text that kind of teaches how we should live, how we should live our lives, and kind of reinforces many of the concepts that I've already taught in the past, which just in a way just sort of proves that what I was saying was not all made up, and that it does appear many times. So let's start off. The Isha starts off with something called a Shanti mantra. So first let's read this. It says, "Filled with Brahman are the things we see. Filled with Brahman are the things we see not. From out of Brahman floweth all that is. From Brahman all, yet is he still the same. Om, peace, peace, peace." And this part right here, that is in italics, is called a Shanti mantra. Shanti mantra, this sort of Shanti mantra appears before every single Upanishad, and it's kind of like Shanti means peace, and mantra. How would I describe mantra? Mantra is kind of just a saying, sort of like a voice. So peace, or you can, how about we can describe it as a calling? So a peace calling, and it's kind of actually similar. I remember to reading um, a lot of Greek texts, and they do the same concept where they sort of call. It's kind of like a call to God or just a call to peace, and it's just a nice way to start before we really start to read the actual philosophical text. So you'll see this sort of Shanti mantra before every Upanishad. It is different for each one, but the general concept is the same, where we're just kind of calling out to God and this sort of notion of peace. And again, we see Brahman, this concept of that Brahman is really the most important part of Hinduism, which many people forget that, they just think, oh, we have all these gods. But really, I mean, Brahman is the main sort of energy and the main sort of force that we see that is calling here. And the concept of like, from filled with Brahman are the things we see and the things we see not. Again, showing that Brahman really is this sort of infinite, undivided, and unchanging aspect that really consists of everything. And this word here, Om is a very popular Hindu Hindu sort of saying that we say. It's a Hindu sound, and it's really seen as the sound of Brahman. So maybe I can introduce this concept of Om quickly in this video, but it's the sound of Brahman. And so a lot of people, what they do is to understand Brahman or to reach out to Brahman, they say Om many times, uh, in the effort of hoping that, okay, I will be able to be one with God or one with Brahman. So let's actually get into the text here. "In the heart of all things, of whatever there is in the universe, dwells the Lord. He alone is the reality. Wherefore, renouncing vain appearances, rejoice in him. Covet no man's wealth. Well may he be content to live 100 years, who acts without attachment, who works his work with earnestness, but without desire, not yearning for its fruits, he and he alone." So let's just take a quick little pause here. Well, he may be content to live 100 years, who acts without attachment. So you can see already this text is a philosophical text. It's stressing how to live life, and we see this concept of acting without attachment. And this is actually the basis of karma yoga, and many other yogas, but really karma yoga stresses this concept of living without attachment. And this actually, I mean, really, this concept of living without attachment is quite universal in most religions. In Buddhism, especially, there's the idea of living without desire. Many religions stress this concept. So you'll already start to see that a lot of these religions have the same fundamental philosophical principles. So let's go on. Worlds there are without suns, covered up with darkness. To these after death go to the ignorant, slayers of the self. So again, these two lines actually, I think this is actually a great text. It shows a lot of the Hindu principles. Worlds there are without suns just sort of proves that Hindus believe in an afterlife. There is an afterlife. There are worlds out there, and to these after death. So after death, you will go to another world. So this kind of proves how, when we always say Hindus believe in the afterlife, this is where they get it from these Upanishads, from these texts is where we get all our principles. Okay, so let's go on. The self is one, unmoving. It moves swifter than thought. The senses do not overtake it, for it always goes before. Remaining still, it outstrips all that run. Without the self, there is no life. So again, it's stressing the notion that the self is one. In a sense, it's saying that that Brahman is one, as we've Brahman is this infinite, undivided, unchanging sort of energy that is one, really. And the self is actually there is a little bit of Brahman. As we say, Brahman is everywhere. So there is a notion that Brahman is within you. It's just that you are unable to see it because of the veil of Maya. So the self is one is also a very important concept that we see in this Upanishad. To the ignorant, the self appears to move, yet it moves not. From the ignorant, it is far distant, yet it is near. It is within all, and it is without all. He who sees all beings in the self, and the self in all beings, hates none. And this is actually one of my favorite lines, which I'm going to go off into a very quick tangent, but I swear I'll come back to this. But the word namaste, I'm sure we've all heard many, many times, and if not, that's okay. But if you're definitely Hindu or Indian, this word namaste just means hello in Hindi, and namaste actually means the divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. That's just one interpretation of the meaning of the word, but I just want to repeat that this is the most common one, that the divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. And it's basically stressing this notion that he who sees all beings in the self, all beings, we could say all other creatures, all gods, all humans, everything. If you can see all beings in the self and the self in all beings, you cannot hate anyone. And because you are seeing yourself in other people and other people in yourself. And this goes back to this concept when we say namaste, we're saying the divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. So if you see a divine aspect in other creatures, in other people, then you cannot hate them because you cannot hate divinity, or you will not want to kill them. And that's why we stress vegetarianism. That's why Hindus stress vegetarianism and non-violence, because this is a very important principle in Hinduism, that there's really divinity everywhere. So if you kill a creature, or you hate a creature, and you're not showing love towards them, you are hating God indirectly, which would not be a good thing. So let's continue. To the illumined self, the self is all. For him who sees everywhere oneness, how can there be delusion or grief? The self is everywhere, bright is he, bodiless, without scar of imperfection, without bone, without flesh, pure, untouched by evil. The seer, the thinker, the one who is above all, the self existent,